Okay, it's time for your question at the top of the show, Dave. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is a question because I don't know the answer to this question, and we've been friends for years. But I'm going to ask you. Here's the question, Dave. What's your real name?
My real name?
Yes.
Dave.
Your real name is Dave Rosinsky.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Why did you tell me your name wasn't Dave Rosinsky for so many years?
I never told you that.
Yes, you did, Dave.
When?
Constantly. You don't remember that you've told me your real name wasn't Dave Rosinsky for many years?
I don't know. Wait, are you Victor?
Oh my God.
Are we
please,
on
everybody
it?
check us out at Six Unseemly and all social media at unseemlyquestions.com. Let's get the show started. Welcome to Six Unseemly Questions. I'm your host, Victor Varnado. This is my sidekick, Dave Rosinsky. We've got a great contestant on the show today, everybody. It's Christian Finnegan. Come on up, Christian Finnegan.
Yeah, welcome.
Hello.
Pleasure
Thank you.
to be here. Thank you for having me on this joyful occasion.
Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thank you for being. You're so cordial. I love it.
Why does Rachel's hold screen look like she's trying to sell me supplements?
Well, let's
Good
introduce
question.
the studio audience first, and then I'll let her tell you herself.
Presentation.
It's Paul Hooper and, of course, Rachel Teichman in our studio audience coming up. Rachel, before we get started, Christian already had a question.
Sure. Would you like to ask it again?
Yes, what do you call the screen when your camera's off? Whatever.
My profile
The
picture?
avatar screen,
Profile
the
picture?
Zoom
Yeah.
avatar screen.
My profile picture, yeah.
Why does it look like you're trying to sell me like supplements at like the Javits Center or something? Like
That was at a different convention center. It was at a hotel, and I was presenting my my applied research project, and the professor
How long can you make this answer? Like longer?
I think she's trying to embarrass me for trying to take her down a notch. And she's
No, she's really trying to tell
No,
you.
this is just Rachel normally.
She's just trying to tell you about her professor.
She is. All right.
Well,
So it's something she was doing educational. It's just a picture from an educational thing that she was working on. That's it.
looks a little bit timeshare-y, that picture.
Looks like you work at Cinnabon.
I'd love to get started with the show. Anybody else?
I was
All right.
presenting research. That's how it was.
Great.
All right, fine. We believe you. Let's start the show.
Christian, let me just tell you how this show works, and then we'll get started. I'm going to ask you 6 unseemly questions. At the end of each question, I'll ring a bell if I like your answer like this. However, if I do not like your answer, I will not ring a bell, and I'll tell you why. Regardless of how many bells you get, at the end of the show, we'll decide whether or not your appearance on the show is worth giving you $5 whole. All right?
That sounds lovely.
Okay, it is time for question number 1. Question number 1. How many surgeries have you had?
Well, I had my wisdom teeth out, if that counts as a surgery.
I think it does, right? I mean, does anybody know? But I think it does.
It counts. It counts.
I think that would probably count. Yeah.
Okay.
I had I had vocal nodes removed in 2017 or 18. Those are like when little polyps develop on your vocal cords, and when you talk, it just comes out like air. And so yeah, I had I couldn't speak for like 6 weeks, and I had a little whiteboard that I carried around. And then this past May, I had open heart surgery, and so that means 3
surgeries. That's way more
aortic
than
aneurysm surgery. Yes, but the aortic aneurysm one, that was the only one I actually stayed overnight for. The other ones were outpatient and hence not as traumatic.
They went in your throat, and that was an outpatient thing?
Yeah, I was out that afternoon. They don't keep you if they don't have to, especially not with my shit insurance.
Yeah, I get that. I think I've had oral surgery only. How many surgeries has anybody else have been in surgery?
Yeah, I wasn't
before?
counting oral surgery.
You said your wisdom teeth.
But I'm saying, do crowns count as no? But no,
I don't think it really compares to open heart surgery to say wisdom
You don't
teeth
think?
pulled. I had my wisdom teeth pulled. I know what you mean.
Wisdom teeth, for when you're a kid, that's a pretty traumatic type deal.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I guess.
I had wisdom teeth and I had a lazy eye as a kid. That was definitely surgery.
Oh, I have a lazy eye as an
Wow.
adult, and my sister really wants me to get the surgery to correct it, and I just keep refusing, and it makes her very angry.
Why?
Do you keep? Is it just because it would be like you've gotten this far and why readjust now?
Exactly. That's exactly why I say I'm just like, I'm not surprising anybody if I, at this point. If nobody's like, oh, that really changes things for me with you, Victor.
I've completely reassessed.
I don't know.
I have a lazy eye. I'm just one of those guys who has a lazy eye. It's fine.
All of my friends are getting their teeth fixed nowadays. So there you go.
And how many surgeries have you had, Rachel?
I did have a wisdom tooth removed, and then I don't know if this counts, but like I had a colonoscopy and endoscopy. That's not like surgery, but they put you under.
It counts. It counts.
All right.
Yeah, I think if they put you under, that probably
counts.
is enough.
It's
Well,
enough.
Christian, I am going to say that for that question, no bell, and I'll tell you why.
I don't know.
Because
it's a factual answer.
I know.
It
How
is.
can
It was
you
my
get
fault.
that wrong?
It was my fault.
Unless
It was my fault
only if you think
that
wisdom teeth doesn't
I-
count. That's
I
the
thought
only way.
asking how many surgeries you had would lead to like this wild and interesting.
I'm sorry, really.
Yeah.
I can tell you about
Totally
surgeries
amazing
for family
conversation.
members. That would take us, but that would take a long time. You know what? I think I can win this in the extra bonus round. My dad had
We don't
something
have one of those.
that I referred to as multi-ball syndrome because he had these little benign growths that were growing in his ball sack.
Uh-huh.
And he had like 8 testicles. Like, well,
Wow.
they were just little benign balls. But then his sack blew up really big. And then when they did the surgery to take them out, they didn't sew them up properly, so it got infected and it got like volleyball sized. And then when they finally corrected that, he just had this like loose balloon that would like hang down the leg of his pants. I think it's retracted some over the years.
Uh-huh.
My dad is like a super big nutsack, which I'm sure he'd be thrilled with me saying on a podcast.
I really my question for you is, how would you think that could possibly make me want to ring a bell for you?
Because who doesn't love a big nutsack, right, ladies?
I don't.
Big, empty, floppy nutsack.
I guess
With
that
nothing
would
in
be
it?
me. That would be me. I would be like, nah.
One that you can like
Big
pull over
floppy
your
nutsack.
face like Vincent D'Onofrio. in Men
No,
in
it's
Black.
not my favorite thing.
It's
I
like
guess.
one of those, give me a nutsack with nothing.
Great story, but no bell on the first question.
Nothing. I know that commercial.
It is now time
Thank you.
for question number 2. But before we do that, can you tell people out there what you do?
I sit around and I stare at the ceiling and I find ways to eat hours to make the day go away until I am either forced into doing stuff by my wife or by my dog's needs. And then I go out and I do sets at night to pretend that I'm being proactive about my life and career.
I love it.
All right.
Pretty much what I do.
Pretend.
There's a
Very existential of you.
lot of judgment in the job description. Got to be honest.
Where are all these pretend shows going on anyway?
What do you mean? The what shows?
Pretend shows?
I don't know what that means.
He listened to half of what you said and kind of like jammed together words in his mind.
Gotcha.
Because you said you pretend
That's how
to
I
be working
understand.
on your career,
Yes.
doing shows.
I
and
do
he just
shows
heard
at night as
he
a way
heard
to be like,
pretend
I
in
have forward
shows.
motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got it. He got it.
I was just trying to let you know how Dave works. It is now time for question number
thank
2.
you.
Question number 2. How useful would you be during the robot apocalypse?
Probably not very. I'm guessing. I'm not a real we can overcome kind of dude. I'm more of like I guess we're doing this now kind of dude. And so I don't really know. And what few skills I have are mostly based on sort of persuasion and conversation, which I think would be especially ineffective against a robot who is using like, a cold algorithm type mindset. So I think if anything, the only reason I might be helpful is that no, there's no helpful. I'd be dead immediately.
Wait, actually, there is a way. I mean, I think because if you're persuasive and you also wouldn't fight, maybe you could be useful to the robots. Like you could
that's
be
a
like
good
an
point.
advocate for the robots who they hire, and they're like
I could
convince the
talk
rest of the
myself
humans.
into being sort of pro robot. I think because I could be like, look, they're just better than us, and
Right.
so why do we as human beings always have to center ourselves in this world? Kind of take a real sort of sensitive, multicultural attitude, being like, Me as a cis white male, why do I always have to center myself? And why do we as humans have to center ourselves in this world? Perhaps it's our turn to be somebody else's pet.
So
And
basically, you're going to tell the rest of us what to do while you get better housing accommodations and food from the
I will
robots?
show you out so quickly.
That's the
It will
job.
not take Paul. It will not take much
Wow.
to get me to sell you all out. Whatever is going.
You know who to look out for now during the robot apocalypse.
It will not
So,
be me. And
I
if
get
you
it.
murder
I
me
mean-
because of it, I don't blame you.
You would definitely seems like you would be useful to the robots. And in fact, but I'm going to say no bell for betraying humanity. So,
Well,
I mean,
I'm over 2. What can I
who
tell
would
you?
I be if I gave you a bell for betraying humanity?
Well, here's the thing: is
Yes.
that I could not betray me. You could not betray humanity, and I could, and we're both going to be equally as dead. Is my feeling. You just might die a little quicker than me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, isn't part of like how you lived part of what existence is about?
No.
Is it who lives the longest? It's
Not
who
really. I
lives
think
the
that's
longest,
overstated. I think it's something we tell ourselves, but when push comes to shove, probably.
Well, there's no way to tell who's right, so I guess
Or
it's time
is
to move
there?
on. Time for question number 3. Question number 3. What was your last Twitter fight about?
Well, I did the day after the insurrection. I tweeted something along the lines of, "Sorry, you suck at stand-up comedy," and had to become a right-wing podcaster. And that kind of was a bit of a kerfuffle, because certainly during the pandemic, a lot of, shall we say, replacement level comedians, and I don't mean that in a overly harsh way, because that's probably what I am too. A lot of sort of replacement level comedians sort of found an audience by leaning into all of a sudden being right wing or, misogynist or whatever. And God bless them. Whatever. Enjoy your life. What you're doing isn't comedy, and don't fool yourself and say that it is. But that seemed to have gotten some people to not like me.
What's a replacement level comedian?
I'm saying that, like, if you took your average comedian in terms of talent, it's sort of a sports term. Like when there's a term called VORP, which is value over replacement player. And so you look at a player and you say, like, does he have a value over your statistically average NBA player? And so you might have a VORP of like 1.15, so that you're like better than the typical average player at your position. And so the people I'm talking about, they're not bad comedians by any means, but they're sort of standard issue in the mainstream of pretty good but not great comedians.
Yeah, I understood exactly what you meant. It's just like, I mean, if you asked me what a replacement comedian is, I mean, besides Dave Rosinsky, I would say,
Whoa.
it's usually
What?
like it's basically like a comedian. It's like a comedian who is just like good, but is not actually, gunning for the stars either. They're just like a good comedian.
Working
They're
comic.
not like
Working comic.
a working comic.
And and I have a lot of respect for that. I really do. But I know it has a very negative connotation. But maybe I mean it on some level. So that is probably the last Twitter fight I was in.
Okay, well, that was a great story, so I'm going to give you a bell.
Cool story,
I
bro.
I knew if I just in long enough, I would get that tasty, tasty bell.
I actually won a Twitter fight because I will fight people on Twitter, but I'll use nonsense instead. And so one time I was responding to people in hexadecimal, and then some guy was like, anybody can translate hexadecimal because I was doing these hexadecimal things. He was like translating them and coming back. And then the last thing that I put up in hexadecimal that he never returned was, only an idiot would be translating hexadecimal to try and win a Twitter fight. And then he just never responded again.
That's respectable.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good hexadecimal time. All right. It is now time for question number 4. Question number 4. Have you ever owned a switchblade? Why or why not?
I have owned a switchblade.
There we go.
Switchblade comb.
Which
I love
those
those.
suck.
Very big deal
Love
in the
them.
early 80s. And that was, I went to Ben Franklin's Five and Dime in Chatham, Massachusetts, and I got myself one of those flip combs. Very big, sort of late Fonzie era, early 80s, later days of Happy Days. They were always at your sort of generalized gift stores. So yes, that would be the one switchblade that I've ever owned. When I was a kid, all the sort of bad kids had butterfly knives. That was the big thing. Switchblade, I feel like was maybe from a slightly previous generation, but did I know some dudes? It was Chinese stars and butterfly knives.
Throwing stars and I was just thinking that when you were saying it exactly.
Yeah, those were like the gamer gators of their time.
And in Brooklyn, as kids, we had access to buy them at almost every store. You just would buy a few throwing stars and nunchucks if you needed them.
And just throw in a few. Can you just throw in a few throwing
stars? And they used to also sell firecrackers.
Dave grew up in like 1970s mafia movie Brooklyn, so that's like
it was the 80s.
Like a very different.
It was the 80s, though.
I remember in junior high school, kids it would make them in shop class. They would try to make their own Chinese stars.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Playboy bunny clocks.
We never had Playboy bunny clocks. We just had my friend TJ, whose brother had all these penthouses in his closet.
Now we're going somewhere.
And then he'd want to get naked for some reason. It was
wow, here we go.
Wow, living pre-internet, wild days, huh?
Really quickly.
We'll tell you all about it one day, Rachel.
Really quickly, everybody else. Rachel, have you owned a switchblade?
Yes.
Yes. Paul, have you owned a switchblade?
I think same as Christian, that I had the comb and then I had butterfly knives that I won at a fair in North Carolina, which is where I was raised. You could win them at the fair every year. So I had those. Yeah. But never a switchblade knife, I don't think.
I got a switchblade knife at an arcade in South Carolina a couple of years ago.
All right. And I have actually owned a switchblade, but I never used it or took it outside of the house. So there you go. And you, Dave, you've owned every weapon.
No switchblade, but butterfly knife.
You've never owned a switchblade?
No. Butterfly knife,
sounds like
chucks, and throwing stars. As a kid, those were the standard weapons as kids. That's what we all had.
Okay, got it. All right.
I'm from the school shooter era, so none of us had weapons.
I'm going to say Bell because it was a great conversation.
I did play Danny Zuko in Greece, so it's possible I may have had a switchblade prop. I don't remember.
Well, that would be the switchblade comb.
Probably. Sorry, Victor.
That's okay. It was great. It was great information about your Greece days. It is now time for question number 5. Question number 5: which Muppet would you have sex with?
Oh man, I think probably the woman in the band. What was her name?
Player. Yeah, with the beret. I forgot her name.
What was her name? Was it
really kind of like hippy dippy with the big lipstick?
It was something with a J, like Joanne or
Janice
Janice. Janice. That's it. That's Janice. Correct. Yeah.
Janice.
Yeah, right. I think I probably would have slept with Janice.
Okay.
She's a groovy chick. What can I tell you?
I'm gonna say no Bell on that question because the correct answer was Dr. Teeth.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just kidding. But that's my favorite answer to that question.
Listen, I don't want anybody named Dr. Teeth, right? what guy likes that? Am I right?
When we were writing this question, I was like, oh, it would be so great if he answered Dr. Teeth, and I was hoping for it, and you just didn't do it.
And tell what would have happened if I had said Dr. Teeth? Would there have just been joy in Mudville?
Well,
you would have gotten the bell.
Well, you definitely would have gotten the bell. Rachel and I would have gone crazy.
I wouldn't have been into it.
No,
yeah,
thank you.
Dave wouldn't have known because he doesn't write questions at the beginning of the show.
Well, if you had sex with an animal, I mean, you know going in that this guy is an animal. So it's going to be vigorous.
Wow, I'm so glad you didn't get a bell on this one. I gotta tell you, it feels right.
I would go down on Big Bird, but that's not fully sex. Just.
What about Ralph the dog?
I'm just gonna ask him every Muppet. Is that what's about to happen, Dave?
You got those ears to hold on to, man. Sorry.
All right,
Grover.
Oh my
you
gosh,
like Grover?
You know what? I want to go on to the next stage
noisy.
of the show. Okay, but
Stage
you can
4.
each have one more Muppet each, and that's it.
Okay.
Go ahead, ask him one Muppet, Dave.
What about Beaker? You ever nail Beaker?
Have I ever nailed Beaker? Hey, I don't know, but the night is young.
Paul, you can ask him about one Muppet. Go ahead.
I don't know who Dr. Teeth is, so I'm still stuck.
The
on
leader
that.
of they got a Dr. John looking dude who played piano. Had
exactly right.
He was in the band too.
Yeah, he's in the band.
We're comedians, so we all
know
want to
what
fuck musicians.
He had a
I don't
hat.
know what's with my childhood, but I can't remember that. Only certain Muppets. I don't know all their names.
Stop Muppet blocking.
I got to
man.
tell you this, Paul. I know you're not the contestant, but no Bell. All right.
Man,
Rachel, what? Well, go ahead. You can ask him one more Muppet.
What about Cookie Monster?
That's
Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster seems like he would have like body issues. Like once you actually have sex, he'd be like, "Oh, turn off the lights! Don't look at me." Oh.
He's not a Muppet. He's on Sesame Street
because he has all the shame from eating all the cookies. Do you know what I mean?
Big Bird.
He's like, I'm disgusting.
Me have googly eyes.
They're not Muppets though. They're not on the Muppets.
Yes, they are. They are.
They're still Muppets.
They were.
Dave.
Sesame Street was the beginning of the Muppets, and then it was such a success that then
Are they in the movies?
Show. No, but I mean they are technically Muppets though.
Well, they were in the Fall of That Bird movie. That's for sure.
All I'm saying is I never saw Cookie Monster on Muppet Babies.
You weren't watching closely enough.
Here is question number 6. Question number 6. What's the best impression you can do?
I can do vocal impressions a little bit, but not so much visual impressions. I do a one-word Mr. Furley impression from Three's Company, which is just
one word. Sorry, I was speaking over it. Do it again.
Jack. That's it. And I do an okay. Robert Smith and okay Morrissey. Sometimes I will sing the James Brown song "I Feel Good," but as Lane Staley from Alice in Chains.
I want to hear it. Real
okay.
bad.
Okay. I feel good. I know what now. I feel good. I know what now. So good, so good. I got you.
It's pretty good.
That's really good, man.
I like it.
Felt like Lane was right here with us again.
In his final stages of the heroin addiction, too. That final throes.
Right before they found him.
I felt like he was rotting with us.
I hope people are watching the video version of this because Christian's face was so into it. It was great.
I'm sure they'll hear it in his voice. There was real passion right there.
It is. It was great. It was fantastic. The audio or video version, I would highly recommend. All right. So that has been the 6 questions. Thank you so much. It's time to decide whether or not you get $5. But before we do that, can you tell people out there where they can find you?
Yes, I will be at PC Richards later today shopping for a I see what I did. You can find me mostly on the old Twitter machine, although I am meeting with social media people this week to try to enter the 21st century. So look for me later on other platforms. Mostly just Twitter, though. My website's christianfinnegan.com. I have 4 albums on iTunes and Spotify and all that, with a 5th one, an album and a special, coming out this October 19th called
That's
Show.
right. And if you are listening to this, it is actually out because we're saving this episode to come out and promote. So
it's coming out on October 19th.
It's coming out on October 19th. Mm-hmm. This is October 19th, where you can check out Christian Finnegan's special, Show Your Work.
Yes. Please.
It's out there. You can stream it right now. So make that happen, everybody. Stream it away. Ladies and gentlemen, and Christian Finnegan, that is enough information. Now it's time to figure out whether or not you get $5 whole. We usually canvass the room. We'll start with you, Dave. What do you think? Should Christian get $5 for his appearance on the show?
Definitely. He made me think about my kid weapons again, and I'm still trying to figure out what other kid weapons I had.
Your rapier wit?
Mm-hmm. That was one.
All right. So
I voted yes, right?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
It's a yes.
Mark me as a yes.
All right. It is a yes. Dave Rosinsky, very hard to listen to. Rachel Teichman, what do you think? Should Christian get $5 for his appearance on the show?
I am contractually obligated to say yes.
What? Really? Why?
I put Rachel under contract.
It's true.
Earlier today. I'm sorry.
All right. That is an unusual turn. But I'm not going to investigate any further because I want to ask Paul, what do you think? Should Christian get $5 for his appearance on the show?
Absolutely. Yes, because he didn't get enough for that first, how many surgeries have you had? He's had open heart surgery, his dad's extra balls, those details and that story is great. It deserved more. He definitely needs.
Okay. Well, it looks like Paul really is against my ruling on your surgery answer. I didn't know that until just now, but whatever.
How much just to give you an idea how much this means. My dad has already gotten mad at me in the past for revealing personal details of his life on this podcast, and I just did it again. I put my relationship with my father in jeopardy, which I feel like is worth $5.
Well, that is, I got to be honest, that's not on me. It's all you, buddy. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's down to you now, Christian. Why do I keep saying ladies and gentlemen? I'm just having a good time. So, Christian, it's up to you. What do you think? Should you get $5 for your appearance on the show?
I think very clearly I should get $5 on the show. And if you need to put it on layaway, if you just want to pay me $1 a month for 5 months, that would be fine as well. I feel like I have earned $5 from you, Victor. And
it's from him. It's from him.
I gotta be honest. No $5. Your attitude is terrible.
Wow.
Terrible
brutal.
Attitude.
Brutal.
I'm very surprised, but it is what it is. Thank you for being a guest on the show, though. However, you were fantastic.
Sally, you won't be going to college after all. That was me talking to my imaginary child, breaking it to her.
School's stupid.
Yeah, I totally got it. I'm sorry that you felt like you had to explain it. Dave.
Wait, there's more.
No, Dave, what did you learn from this week's show?
I learned that when people say, hey, I had open heart surgery, I shouldn't say, oh, yeah, I had a wisdom tooth removed, because then I sound like an
Yeah, Dave, you're slowly becoming a person. It's great. Everybody else, please check us out at Six Unseemly on all social media and unseemlyquestions.com.
I thought it was .net.
Starbane's Audio, a podcast network.